Look at this messy apartment. Look at this place. Anybody hire out for cleaning? Hey, so I'm just shooting this real quick, kind of like a regular video, just for a couple minutes here while I'm watching the end of what was supposed to be a good college football championship game. I happened to catch Wardrobe and McMurray playing their Day of Days Canadian Crucible scenario. And check out Wardrobe's channel because it's pretty cool. They did a side-by-side of the same scenario, but they weren't playing against each other. They were just playing each playing their own thing, and it was pretty cool. So you get a chance to go over to Wardrobe's YouTube, Ward D Robe, and check that out to play through. He'll probably have posted by now. So for the last 3 or 4 days, last probably couple weeks, I've been playing the Blitzkrieg Legend from OCS, and I'm playing the whole France 1940 campaign with Holland included. And it's 2 or 3 days to do a turn. Well, it's been the last 3 days where 2.5, 3 days where I wanted to play over the weekend. I didn't get much in with that, where I was playing just the Germans turn. They ended up getting back-to-back turns. And if you watch the last video, you'll see where I made the breach across the Meuse River. Just those 4 or 5 mechanized units or motorized units that got across there and got that beachhead established, the havoc that has created and what those panzer divisions can do now that they're on the other side of the river. Now, it was just a small area, well, in accordance with map scale, it's a small area when you're looking at it on the map. But as I started this next turn, which I'll get the video posted as soon as I still got to play the Allied side. Right now, I'm at the German exploitation phase. I just finished the combat. Just that little gap in the havoc, like I say, that it's created is going to cause like a massive, hey, Wardrobe, delays in playing because of trying to decide, which I've done it already, but trying to decide on, okay, who did I want to push away from that bridgehead? I got to make sure that it spreads. And the big thing about it is getting the infantry up. And it seems like every offensive that the Germans took on that was on a large scale with their exploitation tactics, their blitzkrieg, their envelopment, their Kettelschlag or whatever they call it, operations, they had issues with the infantry catching up and allowing the armor to keep moving on. Now, of course, was it Rommel or Guderian? They were like, screw it. And they just continued to drive. And I think finally they obeyed one of Hitler's orders, which is interesting for Hitler to tell them to stop. I think he did it 2 or 3 times, and they only obeyed one of them. And, well, you see what happened. It paid off for the Germans because they kept driving. It stunned the Allies, the French and the Brits, because they just had no clue what was going on through the whole fight. But what I've learned is if you're going to play OCS, and I'm going to tell you, play it. You will not be disappointed. You might scratch your head. You might bitch a little bit about having to abide by the rules. And the 2 things that I'm going to tell you that I think are just, well, 3 things actually that are just vital is, one is the use of your air. Hey, Peter, good to see you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Use the air. I'm finding that using hip shoot seems to be really, really effective when you're getting ready to do overruns and movement. All right. And keep this in mind when you do movement, it is move and you can overrun. Then you have combat shortly thereafter. And then from combat, you earn exploits. Shoot, Todd, I'd say that's worth it. Is it shrink wrapped or even if it's in great shape, I'd say that's worth it. I think I paid $100 for the one I got, and that was from a buddy. So you've got movement, which you can overrun. which it weakens your armor a little bit, but you can catch a lot of those single allied units that are just sitting in your way and you need to clear them out. And be careful, because if you don't get good rolls in the surprise, you might end up with a attack that starts at 6-1 or 7-1 or whatever it is. And then the allies or the defender wins the surprise and you rolled a 6, and now you got a 6-column shift to the left, and that 7-1 is now going down to a 1-1 or whatever. And you end up getting, an entire Panzer division ends up getting punished by a cavalry regiment. Just, and I think that's a great rule, because it puts into play that staunch defense that a unit, come on, think about the 101st around Bastogne and the fight that they put up during the Bulge. They were completely outgunned and outnumbered, but their determination, kind of won the fight around there. So I mean, so to me, the surprise rule in OCS, I think, is one of the most extremely awesome rules put into to any kind of series of games. I think it's great. And then, when you've got your air-to-air combat, you have kind of a similar table on that just shows you, hey, maybe these pilots were better that day. All right, so like I say, movement with overrun. Then after that, if you've overrun and you're still adjacent to the enemy when you go into combat, now they can fight again. And then after they fight, if they get a devastating effect on the defender, they might get an exploitation marker on them, which, hey, go ahead, which they can move again and possibly overrun in the exploitation phase. All right, but to pull all of these things off, you need to master supply. And what I don't hear a lot of people, they do it. I'm the same way. Is you don't hear a lot of people talking about that the headquarters units you get, they go right along with supply, because you can have, there's your medium right there. So if you've got a unit that's way out front, you get a headquarters whose throw range is within range of that unit that's out front. And then that headquarters is within 5 truck movement points of a dump to get adjacent to a dump. So you might have a headquarters with a 10 throw range on it. And then, so there's 15 hexes or 15 movement points you can play with. It's definitely the supply, Todd, but I've got it now. So it's not the rule anymore that's eating at me. It's just, it's getting the stuff into place. So what I'm finding myself doing is, and it's kind of a pattern that I'm getting into, is other than when I'm conducting overruns during movement, during that thing, that operation, I will move supply forward on the trucks. And you got to be really, really judicious about this, because once you move that supply and you stop, you're done moving it. And you're not going to put another truck and move it again. So you got to decide, okay, where am I going to overrun at the start of movement, and probably execute that first. And right before you do it, move that supply that you're going to need, which means fueling up the Panzer division and then having the supply to attack with. And then right before you do that, you do your hip shoots. Now, of course, in the Blitzkrieg Legend, the only aircraft that can hip shoot are the Stukas, the Ju-87Bs. So you and it's not really severe, because you might have, I think the Germans might have 12 to 15 motorized or mechanized divisions. Maybe 10 or 11 of them or 12 of them are Panzer units or Panzer divisions. And of course, a good portion of them are focused at crossing the Meuse, which, like I say, when I started this, I was like, there's no way, because there's no dial plan. So I'm just going to, fortify all the French right there along the Meuse River. Well, they have in-place fortresses, and you cannot build hedgehogs in this game. The rules say you can't do that. Don't you start, Peter. I'd sell my neighbor's firstborn to get my hands on Case Blue, and DAC 2 for that matter. So, you got a plan to get that supply forward for what overruns you're going to do for fuel and combat, and get your hip shoots in there, which I found out after about the first 2 turns that hip shoots were just phenomenal. Use them. It may not seem like they're much, but they're not costing you any supply like a barrage does. And you just got to get by the flak on it, which that's like, to me, it's like 8 and 10, that I'm going to pass that. To play the game legitimately, Todd, yeah, I do. Mastering, nah. I think by the time I'm done with TBL, because I've done Tunisia, and then I sort of did those test play scenarios in the Good Areas Blitzkrieg. But I think by the time I get done with this, as far as the base rules for OCS, I think I'll be pretty sharp with them. I don't see why not. I'm having too much fun with it. So, you get these tedious games like this that, you play them for like, damn it, I've looked at this too long, let's take it down. Well, it seems like the last 4 or 5 games I've played them to maybe not the last game turn, but to what I consider completion. And I don't see anything different with. Matter of fact, I'm having more fun with this than I am with the Stalingrad Pocket one that I'm playing right now. All right, so OCS, master the use of supply. So like what I'm finding myself doing is after I decide my overruns, move my supply so that I have enough for fuel and to do the overruns. I do my hip shoots. Then the pattern I've gotten into is moving units into combat position because you don't have to attack. And then moving your headquarters that you need to. You may not have to move these headquarters. Believe me, there's a lot of headquarters in this game. And then moving the supply so that if the supply cannot be within direct draw range of units, the headquarters can direct draw and then they can throw it forward to the units. It takes some brain power to do it. And I found myself tonight, I actually had an infantry division that German infantry division that I moved him 1 hex too far, trying to get, because you can move through zones of control in this thing if you're a combat unit with its leg or track. Truck units can't do it unless there's another unit, a friendly unit in that zone of control. Oh, I love this stuff, man. I love this stuff. I don't know. Maybe the Stalingrad Pocket. Let's wait to see if I can actually bow the Germans in with the Russians and see what happens there. And like, I'm actually excited about that. I'm just not having as much fun playing that as I am the TBL. It's just TBL takes so long to play. So, like I say, focus on the headquarters, focus on that supply, get it in the right places, and then after you move all your units into your attack positions or whatever it is you're going to do, and at the same time, the Germans have so much air power that you've got to put. I found this, and thank God that I didn't shoot myself in the foot. But some of the supply that come on for my dice roll for supply during each turn, this time I was smart enough to put some supply in near those airfields in the back, so that I could refit those planes because you're pretty much using all of them. I made it a sort of a case study to shoot down as many of attempt to shoot down as many of the Allied fighters and bombers that I can, and I've been pretty successful with it. Let's see, gun. It is my intentional. It is my intention that once I've got a grasp on this, I did throw up a trace supply because I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't get is the trace supply. And I think I've got that posted up in a couple places, plus on my site. But yeah, I know I'm going to do another thing on supply. I'll do something on the air, I'm sure. I'll do something on overrun, and I'll probably do something on exploit. So, understanding the things you can do in the game, most of us that play, we know the terminology. So that's defeating half of the rules right there, is knowing the terminology, which, like I say, every one of us probably knows it. And then picking out the little oddball things in the game, like knowing that DG, that one of the things that I sometimes, if I'm not paying attention, which I've gotten better each time I sit down behind the table, is DG reducing that AR value of a unit. So, that, you're going to add a point to the separation die roll there for surprise. If your AR on the Germans is the attacking stack, your best AR is a 5. and the best AR on the Allied is a 2, but their DG, that AR now becomes a 1 for. So for your surprise roll, now the Germans are going to get a +4, and believe me, that one extra dice is magic a lot of times, and especially with the Germans, I think that the French armored are just as strong, if not stronger. But I think that the make or break for the Germans is the quality, that AR rating they get. They've got a couple of Panzer divisions where their recon, their mechanized, and their tanks all have an AR of 5. So that's a big thing. Keeping that in mind, like I'm getting better at it. So now I did play France 40. I think I got that one. Yeah, France 40 was the first one of the Seminich series that I played. And of the between that one and Ardennes 44, I would play France 40 again. I won't play Ardennes 44 again now, I'm pretty sure. So I got a cheap Ardennes 44 up for sale, first edition. I'll probably keep it. I'm sure one day when I get older than I am, I'll put it out again. Somebody grilled me about, who was it? It was Chris Ridley, one of the guys that watches. I guess I made a comment about having time for trumpets or whatever it is, saying that I probably won't play it and that I'll end up selling it. And that was a boo-boo because Chris let me have it about that game, and I probably will. Eventually I'll play it. Maybe come December when Bulge time rolls around again, I'll play it. So, but right now I'm so wrapped up in OCS, and of course I just dropped another Civil War game on the table. I'm going to small grand tactical type thing. I'm going to try to play that and try to finish up Stalingrad Pocket. I intended yesterday to sit down and play Stalingrad Pocket and just grind out, kind of Todd like you did with Bastogne, just try to grind out a whole bunch of turns. But I could not get wrapped up in it and wanted to go over and play TBL. Plus, you had football playoffs on all weekend. That kind of distracted me. So, but since I hadn't posted a video on TBL in a couple of days, and it's taken me so long to play the Germans, I figured I wanted to get on here and at least record something so I could know what's going on. But I'm going to say it again. If you're going to master something in OCS initially, master supply and master the use of the headquarters with that supply. Master where you're going to put that supply, where you're going to drop it. TBL incoming supply that you roll for doesn't count against your rail cap. So you can move those things as far up the railroads as you possibly can, which thank God is a plus because I needed it in a lot of cases. Matter of fact, when I broke out across the Meuse here, I stacked up supply just below that beachhead so that it could reach those units as they broke across. And I actually still have some left, which you'll see in the next video. I got Sicily. Which one you got? You got the first one, the double mapper, or the second single mapper? Which I'm still trying to figure out how they pulled that off. Well, I don't know, but these systems, SCS, OCS, that's what I like about SCS is you can take any freaking battle you want. It doesn't have to be World War II. You can take any battle you want and at any scale and play it at any scale with the SCS system. They could build literally. I think the SCS system, they were geniuses with that one. I know a lot of people don't like it. Not enough depth. But are you going to tell me you did not have fun just playing that scenario of the Canadian Crucible? Because I think you did. I think you and Mac both did. Oh man, you wouldn't like Smolensk or maybe Korea? I need a desert. I got a desert one. Well, I played the Tunisia one. But I don't know if I haven't. Is there another desert OCS? What's well, other than DAC 2, which when you send that to me shrink wrapped for my birthday, I'll play it. I know you were planning on doing that. Weren't you going to sell a kid or something? I'm going to have to get me StreamYard so I can put you on here and have you cuss at me live. Maybe I should just go ahead and invest in that. You can't do that with YouTube, can you? Come on, Gun. Do you play any OCS stuff? And Peter, if you've got Case Blue, I'm sure you have other OCS titles. What else you got? If you're still here. What's this, like the 15th consecutive championship trophy that Alabama has won in a row, other than the one Clemson stole? Oh, I thought Gunn played some map stuff too. But yeah, but isn't there a time limit on the free version? Hell with that. I'll buy it. It's not that expensive. I think I was looking at it once. So I'm thinking about starting a little series of my own, and I'm going to call it Coffee Table Combat, where I just play some small games right on my coffee table, sitting in the living room, because it's big enough to hold a one mapper. Damn, it's after midnight. Anyhow, I just wanted to throw this up real quick about the rules, just to make a comment about, learn to use the fuel supplies, learn to use those headquarters in tandem so that you can get supply up to those units. Like I said, I caught myself short on a couple of units and actually had to take an attrition on one of these big old 18 strength German infantry divisions. And when I rolled on the attrition table, it said -4 steps, an entire division wiped out and never fought. All right, gang, I'm going to let this thing go so anybody wants to sort of keep up to date with TBL. And I'm going to go to bed. I got 2 conferences tomorrow. I got to meet with people. And I'm going to get back home and start playing. So thanks for giving me a few words there, Tony, Gunn, Peter. Appreciate it, guys. And I'm sure we'll see y'all tomorrow evening somewhere. All right, I'm out. Later.